What's up, people? It's the start of a new month, which means there's a bunch of new games coming out that you should be on the lookout for. My goal for these monthly videos is to give you information on the games you're already looking forward to, while also hopefully introduce you to some interesting games that may not be on your radar. There's going to be a mixture of AAA and indie games because I always want to make sure I provide variety on my list. So, with all that out of the way, here are 7 games that you should be on the lookout for in the month of April. The first game on the list is Dead Island 2. This hack-and-slash action game takes place in a gore-drenched, hellish version of Los Angeles where you'll have a variety of zombies to slay as you strive to become the ultimate zombie slayer. You can play alone or up to 3 players in co-op with many weapons to make your Dead Island experience gory, stylish, and memorable as well. One of the more interesting things that's going to be added to this sequel is what's known as skill cards. Scattered throughout the city, skill cards are collectible items that, once equipped, grant Slayers special powers, abilities, and boosts to add them in combat situations. Some of the things that the skill cards can boost are speed, strength, agility, or buffs depending on the combos you pull off. I didn't play the first game, but this skill card system seems like a fun way to give new abilities to the players in a way that makes everyone's individual playthrough feel unique and tailored to their playstyle. Also, a quick note to PC players, the game will be exclusive to the Epic Games Store for the foreseeable future, so if you were planning to play this on Steam, you're going to be waiting for a little bit longer. Dead Island was originally released all the way back in 2011 and the sequel was announced in 2014. So I'm glad fans of the franchise don't have to wait much longer as Dead Island 2 is set to be released in a couple weeks on April 21st. Next, we have one of the games I'm most excited about on this list, and that's Raven's Watch. If you've never heard of this game before, Raven's Watch is a top-down roguelike action game that combines intense real combat with deep gameplay and high replay value. When I first saw the game, I assumed it was made by Supergiant Games, who are the makers of the immensely popular Hades game. But this game is actually being made by Pastech Games, who are the developers of the well-received Curse of the Dead Gods. By the way, if you have PlayStation Essentials and you've had it for a while, you might have this game in your library if you want to try it out to see what Raven's Watch will be. The most intriguing thing about this game for me is being able to play as a revamped version of old fairy tale characters. Like the idea of Little Red Riding Hood being a dual blade wielding assassin who could transform into a werewolf is literally the coolest thing I've heard in a long time. Based off the gameplay and trailers I saw, I didn't get a good gauge on if there's going to be a focus on story or not, but if there's at least a lot of lore to learn about and discover, I won't be that upset. Also, just so you know, this game isn't being fully released in April, it's just going to be early access, but the game interested me so much, I just want to talk about it anyway. As someone who has a mild disdain for roguelike games, I'm really looking forward to Raven's Watch and diving into the early access when it's available on April 6th. The next game coming out in April I wanted to mention is Meet Your Maker, which is developed by Behavior Interactive, who also published Dead by Daylight. Meet Your Maker is a post-apocalyptic first-person building and raiding game where every level is designed by players. Play solo or with a friend as you mastermind devious maze-like outposts full of traps and guards, then gear up for methodical, fast-paced combat, raiding other players' creations. As the infiltrator, it's your job to grab GenMat, which are genetic materials that are found in the center of each outpost, and escape the outpost with it. Players are equipped with a variety of firearms, grenades, a grappling hook, and a melee weapon. Players are encouraged to leave words of encouragement that describe their experience after raiding an outpost. As for the builders, players must create a path for infiltrators to reach the GenMat, and a harvester robot will inform them if GenMat is accessible. There are 4 different types of builders, which are known as maze makers, trappers, visionaries, and maestros. These builder types have different goals and levels of aggressiveness when it comes to building their outposts, so the game really lends itself to various playstyles. What intrigued me about this game is that in a weird way it reminded me of Super Mario Maker 2, which I really enjoyed on the Switch. Even though I'm really not the creative type, it'll be fun to play through other people's maps and mazes. If I'm not mistaken, this game will be a part of the monthly lineup for PlayStation Plus members, so I'll probably play it there. If I like it enough, I might get it on PC since I'm assuming that's where most of the player base will end up being. Meet Your Maker will be releasing on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox consoles on April 4th. While not a full game, next up is Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores. Burning Shores is the first expansion for Forbidden West and it involves Aloy pursuing a sinister threat in the untamed wilds of Los Angeles, which has been overtaken by volcanic islands. Not much else is known about this DLC other than that it takes place after the events of Horizon Forbidden West. Burning Shores made this list because I'm a huge fan of the Horizon franchise and Forbidden West is one of my favorite open world games of all time, so if you haven't played either of the 2 games, I highly recommend it. Even though I haven't finished the game, this DLC will definitely be on my list of must-buy purchases when I do. The Burning Shores expansion will be exclusive to PS5 and will be releasing on April 19th. The next game I want to talk about is Strayed Lights. It's an atmospheric action-adventure game, mixed fluid combat in an intricate world in bed with mystery. play as a tiny growing light seeking transcendence, and throughout the game you'll constantly be challenged by entities of flickering light and luminescent shadows. And dodging is a big part of the combat as you challenge rogue shadows to attempt to absorb their energy levels until you can unleash an ultra energy attack. One of the things that stuck out to me was how you have to change your color from blue to orange to match the color of the enemy while parrying in order for the absorption to work. I feel like as the game gets tougher, mastering the parry system while also constantly having to change colors will be very rewarding when pulled off correctly. And like I mentioned with Raven's Watch, hopefully the game will have either a good story or some lore to be discovered through exploration, but either way, be on the lookout for this game when it releases on April 25th. Our remake is next on the list as we have Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. Being a remake of the first two Advance Wars, it's also the 5th installment into the series. This turn-based strategy game has you leading Andy, Max, Sammy, and other colorful commanding officers as you move land, air, and naval units across various maps. Originally made by Intelligent Systems, who are the publishers behind the popular Fire Emblem series, this reboot will be produced by developer WayForward this time around, who are mostly known by their flagship Shantae series. Art style, 3D graphics, and re-recorded soundtracks are a few of the differences that Reboot Camp will be showcasing. Outside of the two story campaigns, a versus mode is another new addition that this game will be providing, as up to 4 players can test their skills with both local or online multiplayer. Plus, I believe there's also a map maker as well. Set to be released all the way back in December of 2021, this game has seen many pushbacks for various circumstances, so I'm sure the anticipation is high as this game is set to finally drop on April 21st. Before we get into the last game, here are a few honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list. Up next, we have the sequel to Respawn's unexpected hit with Star Wars Jedi Survivor. This action-adventure RPG takes place 5 years after the events of Star Wars Fallen Order, as Cal, being one of the last remaining Jedi, is still under constant pursuit from the Empire. The core combat returns as you'll be using lightsabers and the Force like in the previous game, but with some added tools. Some additions to the combat are Cal's ability to wield 2 lightsabers and also being able to dismember enemies to make you feel even more like a badass. He'll also have new Force abilities, which include a stronger Force push, stopping blaster fire mid-air, and making enemies fight for you as well. The success of the first game, along with Star Wars being a massive property in general, is why Star Wars and gaming fans alike can't wait to get their hands on Jedi Survivor when it finally drops on April 28th. That's all I got for you today, guys. Like I said, I'm going to try to do these every month because it not only helps keep you up to date with the game that's coming out, but hopefully you'll discover a new game that interests you as well. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up with the channel. Later.